wanted to do for you guys today is record a video answering some of the most common questions people have as foreigners about buying property in Mexico. And with the increasing ability that people have of working online, people are thinking, well, instead of being in my condo in Toronto, could I be working online from a condo in a beach town like this? And the answer is yes, you can.
I guess one of the first questions that tends to come up would be around the legal system here and whether it's possible for a non-Mexican to buy real estate in Playa del Carmen.
That's right. So a lot of people somehow find out that, oh, if you're a foreigner, you actually can't buy, legally you can't own property in Mexico. That is a common misconception. As a matter of fact, here in this area of Mexico known as the Riviera Maya, foreign investment has been a key player in the massive development we've seen in this area in the past 20 years. And now, the whole idea of not being able to own property in your own name, there is some truth to it. So I'll explain to you how it all started. Back in the early part of the 20th century, Mexico lost some land to the United States. Part of California, part of Texas, if not the entire Texas. I'm not a history buff, but all I know is that as a result of Mexico losing land to to the United States, they said, never again, we're not going to allow foreigners to own land within 100 kilometers of our land borders. We're also not going to allow foreigners to own land within 50 kilometers or 30 miles of our ocean shores, okay? Now, subsequent levels of Mexican government found that this was very much stifling foreign investment in the country. Of course, especially the coastal areas are the most desirable areas anywhere, right? And then Mexico has absolutely beautiful coastal areas, beautiful beaches, white sand beaches. So what subsequent levels of Mexican government found was that foreigners were still buying property in Mexico, but they were doing it using what's called as a porta nombre, meaning they were using all kinds of legal trickery to get that property, okay? Because legally they were not allowed to own. So back in 1973, the Mexican government said, okay, we need to find a legal way for foreigners to still own, to be able to buy properties in these desirable areas of Mexico and to still allow foreign investment, but at the same time not go against the Mexican Constitution. So what did they come up with? They came up with something called here in Mexico the Fideicomiso. In English, it's called a bank trust structure. The closest comparison in Canada would be something as a bear trust, okay? Essentially what happens is you as the foreign buyer become the beneficiary owner of this trust. The Mexican banks were given the power by the Mexican government to hold this bank trust structure, to essentially create them, hold them. They are the fiduciary holder of this bank trust structure. They do not have any other rights. They do not have any rights to the property. You, as the beneficial owner of that property, have every single right, same as a Mexican way. You can sell your property, you can rent it out, you can heir it to your children, to your heirs, okay? You have the exact same rights as every Mexican. And keep in mind, again, this legal structure is only required if you are buying property within 100 kilometers of the Mexican borders. I don't know who would want to do that, but I'm sure there are some foreigners who want to do that. And within 50 kilometers of the shores, okay? So it does apply here in Quintana Roo because we are within 50 kilometers, roughly 30 miles of the ocean shore. Like we're literally, I don't know, that's probably like 1 kilometer away. Like there is a cost to set up the structure, about $2,500. To set up the structure, and then it's about $500 USD every single year after that, until such time as you were to become a Mexican citizen and you got your Mexican passport.
Okay, and what about the security of land title?
One thing that foreigners need to know is that there are actually multiple ways of holding title. If you're looking at properties in this area, we are dealing with something known as an escritura. That is a proper land title. And in order to acquire a property that has an escritura or a properly registered land title, you have to go through a notary. Their title checks have to be done. So any of the properties that you acquire in this area, you would want it to make sure it has an escritura. Now, there are properties known as ejidal properties or ejido land. Think of this as communal land. These areas, this is more common in agricultural areas of Mexico. And essentially, these properties, you could say, yes, you have some title, but they're not very secure. There is a way you could convert an ejidal land into an escriturado land, but It's a complex process, and it has to be a special type of lawyer that knows how to do that. But essentially what happens with those ejido lands, so again, buyer beware, you need to make sure your property has an escritura. Don't just buy a property because you saw a for sale sign on the lot and you deal directly with the seller. It's like, oh, that sounds like a great price, thank you very much. So with the ejido properties, this person known as the ejido, who is in charge of this commune, essentially the ejido sets the rules for their plot of properties, okay? And there are some cases where if you as the new owner don't occupy the property for 2 years, oh, it goes back to the ejido, it goes back to the commune. So buyer beware. You want to make sure you buy a property that has proper title. A notary is the legal professional that will be able to check that for you. In places like Canada, notaries are some level of a public servant. Here in Mexico, a notary is an experienced lawyer, minimum 5 years of experience, and they are absolutely required to perform a proper real estate transaction where you have proper title of your property. So that's the one thing I would say. You want to work with a notary. Don't just do a private deal and think you're okay. Here, unless you're buying like literally a block away from the ocean. Compared to many North American cities, you're gonna feel like, oh my God, I can buy this ocean view studio for 130K. Like, this is amazing. You know, people are surprised at how affordable property can be compared to what they're used to paying in their home cities. But one thing that does come as a surprise are the closing costs. You know, maybe in Canada and the US we're used to paying 1% closing costs. Here, 6 to 7% is the common cost. Now, out of that, about 5% is going directly to the government in things like land registration, land transfer tax, the cost of escritura, the legal transferring of the, these are all government fees essentially. And then the another 1.5 to 2% are your notary fees. And again, the notary is the legal professional that essentially effectuates the transaction, that is in charge of making sure this property is, first of all, checks the title, make sure everything is okay with the property, and then make sure that that title now gets transferred properly. So those 6 to 10% costs are in addition to what we spoke about, the Fideicomiso. But in any case, there's transparency about the cost. When you buy a property here, we will provide you, the notary that we work with will provide you with an estimate of the closing costs. There are no surprises, okay? But on the plus side, the annual property taxes in this area are dirt cheap compared to what people are used to paying in cities like Toronto, or really pretty much anywhere in North America, where people are used to paying hundreds of dollars per month. Here, for a studio unit, you might be paying, $150 US per year. Larger property, 2-bedroom condo, maybe $200 US per year. An average cost I see for what they call the HOA fees, Homeowners Association, what we call maintenance fees up in Canada, would be like $2.60 per square meter. Now, if you're in a fancier building with lots of amenities, the larger buildings, maybe your maintenance fees may be a bit higher than that. If you're in a more basic building, it can be quite a bit less than that. There are some financing options here in Mexico. However, by and large, the most common way in which foreigners acquire property here is by refinancing or putting a home equity line of credit on their principal residence bank home. So back home, whether it's their principal residence or perhaps they may have a secondary property. If you're in a position to refinance or put a HELOC on that property, you're going to be able to get much better rates than what you would otherwise qualify for here in Mexico. We all know, mortgage rates are at around 3% or less in Canada, the US. Here in Mexico, even for Mexican citizens, for Mexican nationals, the interest rates are anywhere from, at the minimum, 8% to as high as 17% per annum, which is insane. I know this is not something we're used to hearing in Canada or the US. Now, we are aware of a couple of mortgage providers that will work with foreigners here, and the terms that are offered are, with a 40% down payment, you have, they'll lend you 60% at an interest rate anywhere from as low as 7% to 9.9%, depending on your overall credit worthiness. They will take into account your income back in your home country, your credit score back in your home country, and again, usually it's for a 9 or 10-year period. Okay, if you're a foreigner that already has a Mexican passport, that can be, again, then you're looking at 33% down as a down payment as opposed to 40%. So a little bit better. And then for Mexican nationals, there are other opportunities, but if your income is from a country other than Mexico, then you're being still viewed as a foreigner that's buying here. So that limits a little bit. Now, keep in mind, we also have options for Canadian buyers. We have access to an RRSP and DFSA access program. So if you have any kind of registered funds in Canada, we have a company that will facilitate you using those funds for the purposes of acquiring property here. It's very ingenious, the solution they found. It's all under the CRA rule. And maybe we'll do another video about that particular solution later. If you're an American, again, the IRS allows a self-directed IRA to be used to invest in foreign real estate. So there are some ways that Americans can use their IRA funds to again, buy property in Mexico. And again, perhaps we'll do an interview with one of the law firms and talk about that option as well. So I hope this has been helpful, everyone. We wanted to record this video to just make it easy for you and ease some of the concerns you may have as a potential owner of real estate in the beautiful Riviera Maya. I hope this is helpful. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Great stuff.